You're watching Drake Queen Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drake Queen Gaming. It's something on Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Heroes Advent, Kody's Path. So y'all, we have more content available. This is a version 2.2.2. And I think it adds a lot more to Max's route, or that may be a different version. We'll see. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right back in. The trial continues. Alright. Alright. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Any questions from the prosecution? Charles. Oh, that's Charles. Okay, Charles is the prosecution. Okay. No, Your Honor. I see. The witness is excused. Alex promptly approached the stand, stopping short by the clerk. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Sic du te duvet? I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Alexander Piratus Aegis. You may be seated. Sir Alexander. Just Alex, if you please. Of course. Sir Alex, you are well acquainted with the defendant, correct? Correct, though things between us are still strictly on a need-to-know basis. Right, and would you say the defendant has made any significant contributions to the city during his stay? As given his status as the next hero, surely he must have done something for our cause. It all depends on how you see it. He's undergone training and used what he's learned to help around. That includes me, our team, and people around town. And what has he done for the people, to be precise? He took a couple of requests and made effort to travel around the city, getting to know it well. Ah, that's right. During the attack exactly 7 days ago, he was the one who confronted the nether brute with Kody and managed to subdue it. Truly? Have you proof to substantiate this claim, Sir Alex? If you mean the creature itself, then I'm afraid not. Our team insisted on exterminating it out of precaution. I had kept a crystalline sample from its remains, but I'm afraid even that was lost among many of the other belongings during the lab flooding at the observatory earlier today. I see. That is indeed a shame. Now, could you please recount your personal experience with Cassian for the members of the public? Well, first off, I would like to say that it's perfectly understandable for the average person to perceive Cassian as unhelpful both to the city and the war effort. But as a scholar and scientist myself, I was immediately drawn to the prospect of new data and points of references from beyond this world, something that could help push us even further on the development front. Of course, the first hurdle was to make sure he actually came from another world. But when that was substantiated, the amount of information and knowledge he provided was nothing short of hitting the Sardinian motherlode. Thanks to him, we might have witnessed the advent of a new technological era. The era where we can hold telecommunication hubs with our own two hands, or even the possibility of hosting intercontinental visual telepath broadcasts. Well, that sounds like a fun sporting event. All can be done with these devices, like this prototype you see in my hands at this moment. Alex proceeded to show everyone the prototype phone. Nearly everybody, from judge to jury, all looked on in awe as the links promptly demonstrated the smartphone's features. Though you must admit that it did look impressive, with the screen being a holographic projection from the crystal base beneath. I feel like I've seen this somewhere before. Probably that man in the black turtleneck sweater. I cannot speak on Cassian's character, but for this alone he's helped us all, in more ways than one might imagine. I see. Truly remarkable technology indeed. And, Sir Alex, what are your remarks on this Ashford character that Cassian believed to have been responsible for all this? Ah, yes, that snow leopard. He does exist, if that's what you need to know. Both my assistant Festa and I have run into him quite a few times around Kody's tavern. We were always pleased by his professionalism, so needless to say, I was shocked to hear of his alleged heinous actions against our city and Lady Austria. However, I cannot personally testify on it, for I was not present to witness any of it. I see. Thank you, Sir Alex. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Any questions from the prosecution? No, Your Honor. I see. The witness is excused. Tensei promptly approached the stand, stopping short by the clerk. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Sic du tuve? I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Tensei Aamatsu. You may be seated. Sir Aamatsu, the court understands that you are Sir Kody's most recent employee, correct? Correct. I am one of his assistants. And would you say you're well acquainted with the defendant? I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Care to tell us more about him, sir? Well, just as any other travelers, his story of the world beyond is nothing to scoff at. I believe you should hear it from the man himself during his testimony later. As for myself, I'd like to remain neutral on this matter. May we know the reason as to why? Because as a fellow Outlander, let's just say it's not my place to comment what's right and wrong about his actions, thank you. Alright then. And finally, what are your thoughts on this Ashford character that Mr. Cassian believed to have been responsible for all this? As far as my knowledge goes, Ashford's behavior was admittedly peculiar. However, I cannot testify to the alleged dubious nature of his action. That, of course, implies that Ashford does indeed exist, and was my co-worker for the duration of my tenure as my kitchen assistant. I see. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Any questions from the prosecution? No, Your Honor. The prosecution's not doing a great job. 1 second, yo. Water time. Alright, y'all, we are back. Let's go ahead and jump right back into it. Alright. Very well. The witness is excused. Judge, I call the defendant. Granted. Calling defendant Cassian to the stand. You felt the bailiff nudging you away from your seat as you were escorted to the witness stand, stopping short by the familiar sheep. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Sic du te deve? I do. Please state your name in full to the court. Cassian. Just Cassian. You may be seated. Sir Cassian, if I may, we'd like to ask for your personal account of the events that occurred on today's afternoon at 4:32. Okay. You retold the events taking place at Vittram Park. While already somewhat hazy to you, you made sure to make mention of everything with the utmost accuracy, especially Ashford's trickeries that led to your blunder. So in short, Mr. Cassian, you were ambushed by this snow leopard named Ashford, correct? Yes, it was him. Were there any other monsters present other than the man? No, the park was empty, but Ashford could summon a few nether beasts to support him. I see, and you also say that he has the power to conjure up illusions? Yes, he did it many times, with the last one being near Lady Spring. And what about his sword? Do you recognize it? The fox gestured towards the jeweled sword in the evidence exhibition. Yes, it's mine. Lady Spring gave it to me as a gift. All in all, you would characterize what you did to Lady Spring as accidental, correct? Yes, I would never harm her. I see. Thank you, Cassian. Your Honor, I have no further questions and no other witnesses. Any objections from the prosecution? No, Your Honor. Very well. The witness is excused. Does the defense rest? Yes, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, I am now going to read to you the law that you must follow when deciding this case. To prove the crime charged against the defendant, the prosecution must prove these two things to you. First, that the defendant indirectly or directly caused the fall of the Guardian Crystal. And second, that the defendant duly or unduly harmed Lady Spring. If each of you believe that the prosecution had proved both of these things beyond a reasonable doubt, then you should find the defendant guilty. I mean, he literally did just admit that he accidentally hurt Lady Spring, so that kind of complicates things. But if you believe the prosecution did not prove any one of these things beyond a reasonable doubt, then you must find the defendant not guilty. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean beyond all possible doubt. It means that you must consider all the evidence and that you are absolutely sure that the charge remains true. Are you ready with your final arguments, prosecution and defense? Yes, Your Honor. Proceed. Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the public, the judge has told you that we must prove two things. That first, the defendant directly or indirectly caused the fall of the Guardian Crystal. Based on witness testimony, it is safe to conclude that Mr. Cassian, the defendant, did indeed enter the inner sanctum of Vittram Park on his own at 4:32 this afternoon. This satisfies the first point. Secondly, that the defendant had duly or unduly harmed Lady Spring. Well, I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen of the public, that the defendant was found unconscious next to Lady Spring with a sword in his possession. Therefore, all we have left is to prove is that the defendant had disrupted Lady Spring's magic and brought harm to us all. Which, based on all evidence and testimony we have so far, all point towards Mr. Cassian being the culprit. Now, let us suppose there is even a scintilla of discrepancy in what's otherwise a watertight case. That is, this Ashford person actually existed. Does that really change or absolve the fact that Mr. Cassian is related to the Guardian Crystal's collapse, furthering the destruction of our city? No, of course not. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, That right there is a blatant attempt of displacement and accountability from the defendant. And that shall not stand in this court of law. Therefore, according to the instruction Judge Alaric duly provided, these are the things we have to prove, and we have proven each and every point beyond a shadow of a doubt. And you, ladies and gentlemen of the public, must find the defendant, Mr. Cassian, guilty. The hawk promptly returned to his usual perch, leaving you quite shaken after that scathing conclusion. You felt the fox lightly tapping on your back as he fearlessly took the hawk's previous spot. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the public, the prosecution presented a strong case, I'll give them that. But it is far from watertight. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cassian, my client, was extremely unlucky to have gotten himself into a situation like this. The evidence on site was stacked unfairly against him, and the only person capable of clearing up all the doubts, Lady Spring, Her Excellency, is not available at this point in time. If Cassian truly was a cold and calculated killer, wouldn't he have planned on an escape route, so as to not be caught by our first responders? And as you see from the witnesses, none of them claim Cassian as someone capable of such heinous crime. I mean, to reiterate to the point from my opening statement, does he... The fox gestured at your face and body again for emphasis. Look like the type to assault someone senselessly? After all, he does not look, act, nor sound to be a mastermind or perpetrator here. Based on what his friends said, he was barely in training not that long ago. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, you have also heard from Sir Kody and that he was picked by Lady Spring herself to be the next hero. And there was one thing about what he said that really stood out to me. We may disagree or disapprove of her decision, but at the end of the day, it is still her decision to make. And I believe as children of this realm, it is still our duty to obey that. I understand maybe Cassian is not the hero we wanted, but if Lady Spring wills it, then maybe he's the hero that we need. Now, as for the matter of Ashford, this phantom character that the prosecution painted him to be. Really, does it not strike you at all as odd, prosecutor, that a person the defendant alleges to have existed, whom several witnesses have attested to witnessing, just so happens to be the collective delusions of the people? Talk about a preconceived notion, that one. Therefore, in my humble analysis, the prosecution has failed to present any real evidence to disprove that Mr. Cassian was a scapegoat to someone else's conspiracy. This means that there is room for reasonable doubt, and thus you must find the defendant not guilty. The courtroom was rendered silent as the fox promptly retreated to his panel. Now you felt even more unsure about your fate. Members of the public, you have heard the closing arguments from both sides. You may begin your deliberation process. It was now time for the jury to discuss your fate. It took quite some time, and from what you could surmise, more of them seemed to sympathize with your situation than you realized. You couldn't quite make out exactly what was being said amidst the murmurs, but to you it felt like the jurors were equally divided. At some point, one of them seemed to suggest something that gained everyone else's agreement. You felt your stomach twisting into a knot as one of them began writing into a parchment form. Uh-oh. Will the people's foreperson please stand? Have members of the public reached a unanimous verdict? Yes, Your Honor. The clerk went over to the gallery and took the verdict from the foreperson, handing it over to Alaric. The old tiger only shook his head after skimming through the form before giving it back to the clerk. That's not good. The clerk promptly returned to his desk before reading the form out loud. The members of the public find the defendant... I mean, like, at the most, they would probably just jail him until Lady Spring cleared everything up, so... I mean, like, at the most, you'd get some, like, free meals and a safe place to stay in the meantime. Yep. I had a feeling. Guilty. Shit. Judge Alaric will now read the defendant's sentence. Though it pains me to put you in such a predicament, Cassian, despite the circumstantial evidence unable to hold you fully culpable for the destruction of the Guardian Crystal and in turn the city of Crystal Coast, the people have spoken. They demand the prophecy be fulfilled as penance for this grave offense against Lady Primavera and those under her protection. Therefore, by the power vested in me by the people, I hereby sentence Cassian to be exiled from this community, until which time the king has been defeated and the nether plague cold. Understand that this was not a decision made lightly, and one that will have adverse effects for your team as well. The older tiger's expression softened a bit, clearly drawing the line between his official verdict and a more sympathetic tone you had seen when you first arrived. But if you truly are the hero of the prophecy, I trust that you shall exact vengeance against the evil king, as ordained by the previous judicator. You will depart at dawn tomorrow. I will give you what funding and supplies we can spare, but no more. It's the least I can do against what would otherwise be a seemingly excessive verdict. I understand, Master Alaric. Any further remarks from our members of the public before we move on? Alright, I actually have to get ready to go to work, y'all. Alright, thank y'all so much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!